Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look in this training module at how to work with and tune our closed loop boost control system. The last training module went over the setup and configuration and making sure that all of our details are taken into account already so we can begin this training module to learn how to work with the closed loop control. So if you skipped over that last training module, definitely go back and watch it because that prepped us for this tutorial, going through and learning how the system works and learning how to calibrate and work with our boost target table and our wastegate duty cycle feed forward table. Okay, so jumping into our tutorial, we know we have all of our settings correct here. We know we have a good starting point. We've put ourselves into the hybrid closed loop, open loop type of environment. That's found here. We set our option here for closed loop. So if we jump up to the top here under boost setup, we're set up on closed loop now, but down under our boost PID setup, we've set the proportional, integral, and derivative gains to 0. And then we've set our min and max duty cycle clamps to 0 and 90% duty cycle. Then we have our integral clamp down here also set to 0. In this situation, we're going to find that the link is going to arm itself in closed loop status. So as we start to get the engine running, we have a boost target that it's going to try to work towards to try to control things. But the problem is that we've essentially went in and gutted the proportional integral derivative control. We've set these to 0 here on purpose so that we can establish what our relationship's going to be between our boost target and our duty cycle. Our job at this point in this hybrid closed loop, open loops type situation is to figure out and define what this duty cycle table here needs to be at to reach this specific boost target. So the way this is set up, we have our boost target table set up on RPM versus gear. And then we have our boost targets here placed into the table. Then the system is going to be looking up what the boost target's going to be. And then it's going to be taking a look over on the axes here at what the duty cycle should be. So this is the indexing, this is the boost target. It'll look up in the table at a given RPM what that duty cycle output needs to be sent to the boost control solenoid to pulse it to achieve that desired boost target. We want to have this relationship between our target table and our feed forward table so that we're almost hitting the boost target without any interference or feedback from the closed loop system. This ensures that we can run relatively small proportional integral derivative feedback. This improves the control of the system. So let's just take a look at this real quick. We can see right now my engine speed is at 0, the map pressure showing 100 kPa. I'm doing this on an engine simulator so we can slow things down and take a look at exactly what's going on here. So let's look at the situation of how this is going to work. Let's assume that we have a 10-pound wastegate spring. So wastegate spring's 10 pounds. We can't go below that on an external wastegate. We can only increase the boost above that. So the way I've set this up here is that the boost target table, we can see we have a target here of 200 kPa. Now, if I know that my spring pressure is going to be 160 kPa, about 10 pounds of boost, I'll probably put a boost target here just slightly higher than that. Let's go to 180 kPa here. So we're just going to go put a value of 180. Even here at 3,500, we'll put a value here of 180 kPa. What that's going to do, and we're taking a look here at our boost target table, the table starts at 160 kPa target. We're going to find that that should always be zeroed out here. Then, because we're targeting 180 kPa, we're going to go a little bit above our spring pressure. It's called out here in our boost target table. We need to define this row of the table. What duty cycle do we have to place here in order to hit this specific boost target? So that relationship's pretty simple. Let's assume that we put a value here of something like 10. Now let me go ahead and fire up the engine here on the simulator and then start to manipulate the map pressure so we can see how the system works. It's driven off of what's called boost error, the difference between the actual map pressure reading and then the boost target. So they're going to be how far apart from each other in order for the closed loop feedback, the PID gains to start to feedback. Now we know we've essentially kneecapped ourselves there. We've zeroed all those out. So it's going to just follow that relationship at this point between the boost target and the duty cycle. So let me go ahead, I'm gonna go fire up the engine here quick. Let's bring it up to something like 4,000 RPM, 5,000 RPM here. We can see in this case that the boost status is showing that the closed loop is active. And then we can also see here, taking a look, the map limit, that's our limiter that we can't go above for the map pressure. We've set that up already. It's our boost cut. We can see here that the wastegate duty cycle is outputting 10%. So this is what we're sending to the boost control solenoid. Now we're not finding any intervention or any feedback from the link. It's simply running what we place here in the table. So our target here is 180. Our map pressure is 100. Now, even if I go here, because again, we have ourselves in this hybrid closed loop, open loop situation where we have the closed loop capability zeroed out. So technically we're in open loop, but we're allowing ourselves to figure out this relationship between the target and the duty cycle. So if I go ahead and bring up my map pressure here, notice as the map pressure gets closer to the target, that duty cycle is still staying at 10%. If I overshoot the target, still 10%. Undershooting the target, still 10%. So let's assume here that 10% only gets us to something like 160 kPa. So we'd have to do a pool and figure out, okay, we know we've locked ourselves at 10% duty cycle at that 180 kPa target. We're only getting 166 kPa. That's going to tell me I need to increase my wastegate duty cycle a little bit further to be able to reach the actual boost target here. So again, we're trying to define the relationship between the boost target and then the lookup table here. This is where the system's going to start from. This is actually known as our feed forward table. So we have to figure this out as close as we possibly can get. So we're within, let's say, 2 to 5 kPa of the target. That's good enough. The control then can start from there and start to feedback. So let's look at this here. So if I, let's just say hypothetically, go from 10 and I put a value here of 15, and then we can see that the boost is going to go up here. And let's just say we're at 179 kPa now. Notice the duty cycle is riding exactly what we programmed into the table. 15% duty cycle is getting us to approximately our boost target of 180 kPa. We're at approximately 179. Now again, this is all hypothetical. You're never going to know exactly what duty cycle is going to equate to what boost pressure target you're going to try to go after here. So that's going to be a little bit of trial and error to figure this out. So, all right, so we figured out what the duty cycle needs to be at 180 kPa. If I then just walk my boost up here, so say I'm going to go up to now 200 kPa or about 14, 15 pounds of boost. If I go up a little bit higher here, 200 kPa, now what's going to happen? It's going to look for the target of 200 kPa. That's coming from our table. Notice that the map limit now has previously was at 220 kPa. Now it's at 240. The map limit or the boost cut's going to walk up as the boost target walks up because we've set up our safety map pressure cut table, map limiter table in that last tutorial based on boost target. So we know we're good there. And notice the duty cycle is showing 0. Well, that's because our row right here is 0. Again, that has that direct tied relationship. So we know 15% duty cycle.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.